Hello, my name is Erica Shea, and you are tuned into Slay, where each week you and I turn our attention inward and reflect on ideas intended to help move you into a state of inspiration and empower you to take decisive, proactive action toward achieving your goals and reaching your highest potential. Today, we are talking about consistency and remaining steadfast in pursuit of our goals despite any perceived setbacks. If you are ready to make steady progress towards your goals with greater confidence, resilience, and self-compassion, then this episode is for you. Let's get into it. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear says that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. You see, as we've talked about time and time again, every action sets off a series of reactions and consequences. Desirable actions lead to desirable outcomes, while negative action, including inaction, can result in undesirable consequences. We understand that by making conscious choices and taking positive actions, we increase the likelihood of creating the future our hearts desire. That by taking consistent, purposeful action towards what we want, we increase the probability of our success. All of which is a process that shapes our personal growth and development. While we know these things to be true, and as much as we want the best for ourselves, sometimes we slip, we face setbacks, or simply lose motivation. What then? This is where perspective comes into play. We're not always going to feel up to the challenge. We're not always going to feel ready to seize the day. We're not always going to feel like we have the bandwidth to continue forward. This is when it becomes especially important to stop and remember our why. What is on the other side of those actions that you're considering putting off? Is putting off what you've determined needs to get done going to set you back in any way, be it literally or figuratively? Because maybe you can adjust your schedule the next day, right? But what's the reality of that for you? And also, what is the reality of you being okay with the adjustment and not beating yourself up about the choice so much so that it doesn't interfere with the productivity that following day? It's important that we address these things and be honest with ourselves before moving forward with a decision. For example, yesterday was the 4th of July and it fell on a Tuesday, which is Slay Day, okay? Fun fact is I record each episode the day of release each Tuesday, and most of the time I don't exactly know what I'm saying until a couple hours before recording when I'm kind of working on my outline. So I'll decide on a topic, like a theme. I'll get the title at least, and then I'll put an intention on my heart and in my mind before I fall asleep the night before, and I'll kind of meditate it on the morning leading up. This way, I just place less stress on myself just by not thinking too far out in advance and getting overwhelmed, and instead focus on taking it a week at a time as I build the muscle for simply putting my own ideas together and sharing them publicly. And it's a baby step because the next thing is going to be videos, but it's like I've got to build the muscle and just stay consistent and persistent at this. So the plan originally was for me to record on the 4th of July and still put my episode out even though it was a holiday. Well, obviously today is Wednesday and here I am. So what happened for me to deviate from my previous decision? A couple of things. The first thing is I had to remember my why, which is, why do I do what I do with this podcast? If I want people to understand that we really can manifest our dreams and create the balance that we want in life, then I have to be an example of that. And not every day is going to be perfect. We're not always going to stick to the diet or the budget or the to-do list that we have for ourselves. Sometimes we're going to be forced to deviate, and sometimes we'll simply decide, for whatever reason it is, that it's just not happening today. But if it's not happening today, it must tomorrow, because my vision depends on it, right? Our visions depend on it. My self-esteem depends on it. My self-trust depends on it. Externally, the credibility and the trust that I'm trying to earn and cultivate in others in order to genuinely and effectively influence and have impact and help them, it depends on it. So with that in mind, I was able to make a confident decision to enjoy the holiday with full faith that my vision wouldn't be compromised, something that I wouldn't have been able to do if I hadn't earned the credit with myself from past efforts. And this is where my second recommendation comes into play. Reflect on how far you've come, all that you have accomplished, even if you're at the beginning of a new journey. Think about how much effort it took for you to get to a place mentally and emotionally to accept the work that it would take to pursue whatever goal it is that you're in pursuit of. The time, energy, sweat, tears, you name it, that went into all of it are all valuable. You've made an investment already. To not see it through could not only be devastating to your progress and the vision that you have for your life, but your overall sense of self-worth. And remember, our relationship with ourselves, it sets the tone for every other relationship in our lives. We teach people how to treat us by how we treat ourselves. If we're not honoring the promises that we make to ourselves, taking care of ourselves, living in alignment with our values, ultimately showing ourselves respect, how can we expect others to? Personal growth and development takes time. It's something you value, or else you wouldn't be listening to this podcast, right? And so I'm here to remind you that you didn't come this far to only come this far. If you need a moment for yourself, you take it, but you get back at it as soon as possible, regardless of whether you feel like it yet or not, because the longer we stop to pause, the harder it's going to be to start back up. And a body in motion stays in motion. So whatever you do your best to maintain momentum. This is where my third and final piece of advice comes in. Practice mindfulness. When you catch yourself debating doing something, listen to your inner dialogue. Bring awareness to the tone. Is it negative or neutral? Observe your thoughts and feelings with curiosity and compassion, and recognize that this momentary blip is a part of being human, all right? It's also only momentary. It only lingers by way of attachment and us holding on to a feeling or thought that doesn't serve us. Offer yourself understanding and shift your perspective towards self-compassion, gratitude towards all of your strengths, all of your accomplishments, and all that you have that is good and working in your life really helps here. With that said, I ask you, as I tend to, how happy are you with the current conditions of your life? Do you feel that you are living in alignment with your values? Are you living your life with integrity? Are you proud of yourself right now? Are you proud of yourself when you wake up? Know that the only limit to our dreams is the amount of action we take toward them. So act without limits. Choose progress over perfection and continue to put one foot in front of the other, regardless of what the previous day looked like. Remember, success doesn't come from what we do occasionally, but from what we do consistently, and our greatness isn't going to manifest itself. So stay steady and remember that you are not alone. If you enjoyed this episode and know someone who could benefit from today's message or any of the content that we discuss, be sure to share it with them. As always, I thank you for tuning in. Until next time, continue to show up for yourself in a major way.